Hello everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I will be presenting to you one of my latest completed project in my web development journey. And I call this project Artistry, which is basically an e-commerce or an online marketplace where I will be selling AI generated art. And since this is a full stack application, I will be building my own API. And don't worry if you don't know what API means or what it stands for. I will be explaining it with more details later in the presentation. I also want to mention that for this project, I am using a database to store information, such as the information about the customers, the items in the shop, and more. Some of the features that are available in this website are the users are able to browse through the shop and look at the items that are for sale, and they can add those items to their cart and it will be saved in a database. The users are also able to track orders after they've made their purchase and redeem promo codes from earning points after they made their purchase. Now, the backend overview is the logic or the stuff that is happening behind the scenes. And I want to start off by explaining the index.javascript. So all of these three are all backend stuff. And the index.javascript is responsible for handling the user's request or their actions. For example, if a user clicks on About Us, then my index.js will process that request and redirect them to a page called About Us. Or if a user wants to log in, then this file will be notified about, oh, this user wants to get to the login page so they can log in. Now, next is the API.javascript, and this is where I will be building my own API. This is where it will process requests such as the user logging in. The API.js will see if the email and the password match. So what happens first is that if the user clicks login and then they enter their username and password, once they click submit or log in, then that information will be sent to index.js, and the information about the user's login, such as their username or password, that will be sent to the API, and the API will process if, okay, this person entered in the correct information, so then we will send the data back to index.js so they can be successfully logged in. And then our database. So I will be using Postgres or PostgreSQL, which is a system where I will store information about the customers, the shop, items, and purchase history. So all these information will be stored in tables. So each table will be like a table for customer information, a table for shop items, and another table for order history. And whenever, for example, a user logs in and they want to be able to access their purchase history, then if they log in first and then they click Purchase History tab in their view profile, and don't worry if it doesn't make sense right now, I will show you a demo of my project later, but I just want to explain the basics first. But if they click on Purchase History, then the index.js will say, okay, so the user wants to see all the purchases they have made, and then they'll send that request to the API. And then the API will then use SQL code or an SQL query to get back all of the orders that this user has made from the database. And once the database has sent the information back to the API, then the API will send that data back to index.js, and index.js will then display the information about the user's orders to the front end. So, API stands for the Application Programming Interface. And like I mentioned before, I built my own custom-built API, which I will be storing it locally. And this is where they will process a user request. So like I mentioned, that the index.js is responsible for responding to user actions like clicking a button or getting to this link, but it's actually the API.js that will handle the process of verifying this information, such as verifying the log information, or accessing purchase history, or tracking an order. So an example that I like to give to people who may not clearly understand what API is that if you're at a restaurant and you want to order a drink or food, then the waiter or the waitress then will come to you and they will fulfill your request. So you want a drink or food, and then they will take that request and then send it back to the kitchen. And that is where the kitchen will process your order, such as the food or drink, and then the waiter or the waitress will send it back to you. I will be storing the information about the users, such as their email, their username, their physical address, which this will be used for shipping information in my database. And to get the information out of the database, then you will need to use SQL queries or the SQL code. And an important thing that I also want to talk about is the software development lifecycle. And a simple explanation for that is that it is a structured process that guides the engineering team for walking through the development process from start to finish. So how is the software planned, designed, who will be working on this project, and then how is it being developed, tested, and then released to the public. I've also attached my Google Doc link, which is my SDLC document, which details the information about my project from the beginning to the end. So what are some things that I've learned? Definitely I have grasped a better understanding of data structures. For example, I have learned more about properties of arrays and objects, as well as understanding the development process of my project from the very beginning to the end. So now I know more about designing the front end, as well as designing the different tables for my database. And I've also gained better problem solving skills and learning how to write clean code by writing less. Some of the non-technical stuff that I would definitely say is I've definitely have improved with patience. I think when I run into some of the problems when coding is that sometimes I get maybe a little bit frustrated and then impatient, but when I encounter more and more problems, then I have learned to become more patient, and through research and hard work is how I was able to become more patient. And also, reading other people's code. Before, I actually didn't really like to read other people's code. I thought it was a little bit messy, but then I came to the understanding that reading other engineer or developers code allowed me to see how they think and how they solve or approach the problem themselves. And it makes me say, oh wow, like I never considered that approach. And definitely the importance of communication skills. I think later on when I work on more complex projects, I want to be able to explain difficult stuff, maybe to a non-technical audience so they can understand. Some of the things that I definitely want to work on is, again, the communication skills. And through solving more problems, I become a better problem solver. And as for the website, I do want to add some features such as search and filter, where the users are able to go through the shop and be able to search for the items that they want. And I would like to add more items to the shop, as well as adding a more secured login process and OAuth login, where users can log in with Google. Thank you, everyone. And here we are in my software development lifecycle document. And this is where I will be outlining my development process from the very beginning all the way into the end. And this document, as you can see, it's very long, has 33 pages. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I just want to mention the important points about having an SDLC and incorporating that into your own personal projects. One thing that I will definitely say is that having an SDLC really helps me to see where I am in the development process. So like I'm not just going straight into coding it, even though that is the fun and exciting part, but I have to go through the proper way from the very beginning of listing out the stuff that I need, such as the requirements, designing the different pages of the website of how I want it to look, and then go through the whole process of writing code, testing it, and then launching it. So yes, it is a whole process, but it really has helped me to see how software engineering works. And I think that it's also helpful that I set milestones for myself. For example, at this given date, then I need to complete this. And let me just give you an example of some of the things that are included in the SDLC. So at the very beginning, you have to say, okay, what are some things that my website will definitely need? And of course, you need homepage and a checkout page, since this is an e-commerce. And then you want to design, which is the next phase of the SDLC process. And this chart is just showing you the different tabs of my website. And another important part that I want to talk about is so coding is definitely important, but I think that all the way down to testing. So testing and quality assurance, I think, is very important. This is where I will write out or think of all the scenarios about what the user would do or might do, and then write test cases about that. For example, if the user adds in a lot of items at once into their cart, will the website crash, right? And I have tested that out, and the answer is no. So since I have to write out as many testing scenarios as possible. I also have to include the information about it, as well as the result of the test. So of course we would want all of our testing cases to pass. And I will definitely say that when you write clean code, you really are making sure that there is less errors as much as possible. So when you come to this testing quality assurance phase of your project, then hopefully you will experience less errors, since you are focused on writing efficient and clean code. So yeah, that's all I really want to mention about the documents, since like I mentioned, it's very long, but you can take a look at it for yourself. I will provide a link to this document on my GitHub. Here is a demo of my completed project. So let's start off by looking around at the homepage. And as you can see, there's not that much, but hopefully in the future I will be able to work on it more and adding more features. But let's take a look more about us and more about here is where I created just a simple like about me and about the team, and then I'm the CEO, and then Mr. AI is the person making the art. Here, as you can see, right now I only have about 9 pieces, but again, hopefully I'll be able to add more in the future, maybe up to like maybe 20 or even 30. And you can go more to see about like frequently asked questions. And for those of you who might be wondering, I'm able to achieve all this layout, like these buttons and the header and then the footer. I'm able to do this by Bootstrap, which is a framework for providing a visually appealing and modern looking style to your websites. But let's continue and look more about Contact Us. And enough about that. Let's actually get into one of the main functionalities of this website. So at first, you may log in or sign up, but we're going to actually sign up for an account. So when you sign up for an account, you get perks such as free shipping, you earn points, and then special offers. But let's just create some, let's create an account. So I'll just call him Bob, and then I'll give builder as his last name, and then like phone number, I'll just give something random, all the way 1 to 9. And then birthday, let's just give a random birthday, April 28th. Oh, I was definitely not born this year. Let's go back all the way, like to, let's just say 1999. Yeah, let's just change your birthday. And then let's just give him a random username. Let's call him Bob Builder 123. And actually, let's remember this username so we can log in later. And then give him a random address, Bob Builder 123 at example.com. I just create a random password. Just call it Bob123. And what you can see here right now, the red color indicates that you have not yet to enter a password confirmation. But if I enter in Bob123, then it'll turn into green, letting you know that both passwords have matched. And let's just enter some shipping information, 123 at Hello World Street. City, I'll just call it World. And then state, I'll just say that he lives in Indiana, and zip code 12345. Let's click sign up. Thank you for signing up, Bob. Will be what you see after you have successfully signed up for an account. Let's click done. And then we can go up here. And then let's log in. And then I think, yeah, this is his username. And then his password, Bob123. All right, so let's go ahead and sign in. Oh, username, password is correct. Okay, so must have been, okay, it's an extra spacing the username. But in case the user fails to sign in, this is the error message that will be displayed. Let's enter in the password. All right, so we will be redirected back to the home page. And then as you can see up top at our header, our initials Bob Builder are now here. And then we can either sign out or view profile, but I'm going to view my profile. Here is where I will get my information, such as the personal information. I can even edit this. I can just say, change my last name to like Bob's with S, and then I'm going to move to Kentucky, save, and the change will be reflected. And then you go to my purchase history. As you can see, I have made no purchases yet, but we will soon. And then my rewards, and of course, since I have not made any purchases, my points balance is currently 0, but eventually when I have points, I will be able to redeem these coupons. And then we can go to account ownership. We can change our password. We can even delete our account. And then for our payments, we can even add a credit card. So let's add one. My name, and then you can select whatever you want, but I'll just give it as Visa, and then I'll give it to 9, and then expiration date, I'll just say it's next month. CVC, you just say 23. Nickname, I'm gonna call it main card. Says add. So let's say I got an error, says invalid Visa card input. Well, that's because Visa card inputs have 16 numbers, so we only have 9. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this should do. Oh, so this card already exists in file. So as you can see, this card number already exists in file. So let's add a new one. And hopefully this is 16. Let's actually count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then add. Okay, there we go. And then so I've added a Visa credit card. And here you go. You can either delete it, but we're not. Let's go back and let's check out our cart. As you can see, our cart, there's currently nothing in here, but let's go to our shop and add in some items. And I'm going to add in this painting right here, and I'll give it a quantity of 2, and I'll click add to cart. Go to my cart here, and because we are a member, aka we have a registered account, we have free shipping. And as you can see, our estimated total is going to be 3,000, but let me add in a few more items. We'll just add in, I think this one looks good, and then maybe this one. And then, as you remember, our artist is my Mr. AI. And then let's go to our cart. And then in here in our cart, we can actually delete some items or add more. Alright, let's proceed to checkout. And then I also want to mention, when we have a promo code available for discounts, we can add it here. But since we don't have any, This just sends the invalid promo code. Let's proceed to checkout. So here is our checkout page. And the information about the user that is logged in will be populated here. And then we can choose the card file that we just used for payment, or we can just select another payment method. But I will just use my Visa to pay for this order. And again, I'm actually not paying for real. This is just a demo for my personal project. But for my billing information, I'm just going to put same as billing. But you can uncheck this to enter whatever you want. But I'm just going to keep it as same as shipping. And then let's actually submit order. Submit order. Then we will be directed to the confirmation page, like most websites, after you have placed your order. Then here we get the information such as the order number, when we purchased it, how much it was, and even how many points we have. And I will use this order number. I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to go back to our home page, and then I'm going to go to track order, and then I'm going to enter the order number, and then my last name, which was builder name, and we click submit. And then as you can see, our order number gets displayed, and the order status, since it was just placed, it will still be processing, and then it will also show our date of purchase. And whenever we need to reference this order number, we can actually go inside our view profile, and one of these tabs, we can click under purchase history. And since we just made a purchase, all of our purchases will be shown here. And as you can see, the order number and the items that the user has bought for this purchase. And then we can click on view on details. And then here as well, you can also see the order status, as well as how much you paid for total, how many points the user has earned for this order, what kind of payment method they used for this order, and then other stuff such as the items itself. Now let's go back, and then let's go to our rewards. So since we just made a purchase, we've earned points from it, and the term says that for every $500 that the user spent on their order, they earn 1 point. For example, if a user's total was $2,000, then they would earn 4 points, since it would be 2,000 divided by 500. And when you get up to 100 points, you can redeem $10 off, and then I think for $50 off is 250. As you can see, since we only have 14 points, we don't have enough points to redeem any of these coupons, so we don't have any coupons available here. But once we do, we click on one of these coupons, and then it will be shown here in this box. And let's go back to our home page. And yeah, thank you everyone so much for watching. Definitely in the future, there are things that I want to improve for this project, such as redesigning the home page to make it look more visually appealing, and maybe add some more stuff like monthly newsletters or upcoming drops such as paintings, and just more stuff to the header, and more features such as being able to go into shop, and there should be options here where the user can select, such as search and filter, and adding more items. Alright, so we are in my back-end files. So this is where all the logic and behind the scenes stuff happen. As you can see on the left, this file is the index.javascript file, which is responsible for listening or responding to users' actions or requests on the front end. For example, if a user clicks on a button, then this file will be notified about that. On my right, API.javascript is responsible for processing that request. So let me give you an example so you can better understand. Let's just say that the user wants to sign up for an account. Then if they click on sign up button, they will be redirected to a page where they will fill out information such as their full name, the username that they want, enter their password. So all that information will be captured in my variable called body. So body has all the information that the user just filled out after they have clicked submit. Then what my index.javascript file is going to do is that it's going to make a request to my API, and as you can see, I have to enter in my API URL, and this file right here is my API. So once the information or the request is sent to the API, then it will process that information. Once it has processed that information, it will make an SQL query to be able to send in all the information about the user to my database. My database will then store that information about the user, so their log information and their full name. And once that's done, then my index.javascript file will just redirect them back to the home page to let them know that sign up was successful. Another example that I want to give you is, let's just say if a user has an account with us and they want to be able to edit their personal information, such as if this person got married and they want to change their last name on their account, then they will click edit profile, and the index.javascript file will say, okay, this user wants to edit their personal information. So then I'm going to capture what they just entered, aka their new last name, and then once they have that new information, that information is stored as the variable new user info. Then index.javascript will send that information to my API by making an API request here. So then my API will process that request by updating the personal information in the database. Since our database stores information about the users, this is how we want to change it. So after that is successful, then the API will send back success message to index.javascript, and then index.javascript will just display to the front end. Alright, so change was successful. So here is my database. So this is where all the information about the users, each items in the shop, or other stuff such as the items that the user added to their cart will be stored. And the application that I'm using is Postgres or PostgreSQL, as you can see by the name here. And I want to start off by saying that I have a total of 7 tables. So this is where each table will store information, such as if this table users will store information about the users or the customers, and this is like information such as their full name, their address, their username, login information. And then shop items will be about information about each item in the shop that is for sale, such as their title, their price, their description. And whenever we want to get information about from a specific table, then we will write SQL query. So here I am saying select or just get, and then this asterisk sign means a wildcard, means all from the table called orders. So essentially, translating to English, I mean the SQL query is in English, but if I were to translate it in simple words, it's basically saying get all of the items from the table orders. And once I run that, then this is what will show up, and this is where all of the orders that were made will be shown. And as you can see here, the order number. So these are the columns, and the rows means that these are the different orders. So there has been a total of 8 orders that were made, and so each order has a unique order number. And let's do another SQL query for our shop items table. So here we are in the shop items table, and as you can see, these will be all the items that will be for sale on the website. And as you can see, there's only a total of 9 items. I know right now they're not arranged properly, but and then these are all the titles of each item as well as their price. So whenever we want to get information about each item from the shop, then the API will write this SQL query or SQL code in the API.javascript file. And essentially this is all the information that will be sent back to the API so that the users can see it on the front end.